Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, Alex Reevy, along with the purple pudding eater herself.
All right, I'm looking forward to hearing this one.
It is episode 237, February 6th. Let's get right into it. Today, Mercury sextile Neptune.
Hello, Siri.
Tuesday, February 7th, Mercury out of shadow.
Make new marks.
Same day, Venus sextile Uranus.
Sensitive and objective.
Friday, February 10th, Mercury conjunct Pluto.
Probing.
And finalizing the week with Saturday, February 11th, Mercury ingress Aquarius.
Discuss those topics.
And talisman time, Sandy has a free week. And on the horizon, we have our regular year ahead forecast, as well as our two other retreats in 2023. Then in our house, we are bringing on a special guest to the podcast. Meet Anna from Hawaii. Stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intentions.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you.
Hello,
What?
purple pudding eater.
Is that because I had purple jowls?
No.
Oh, okay.
But you have purple hair now.
Oh, well, a streak of purple.
And one of your favorite things is eating the pudding. One, from your mouth surgery, and two, from the Optiva program.
Yes. Okay, so I get that because it was my...
And I needed something with
Purple.
a P, and I was like, the purple princess? I don't know. So
No, pudding. I love
Pudding
pudding.
eater,
And what
got
I
it.
wanted was butterscotch pudding, which I used to
Didn't
call
have it.
Scotch tape pudding, which didn't happen.
well,
But I got my tapioca, which I like too.
Perfect.
So anyway, perfect purple pudding.
eater.
Yeah.
So going direct to all of our listeners, thank you so much for all of your feedback. We do have a message from Leslie. This was after the Mexico retreat that you just got back from.
Yep.
She says, again, thank you for being you and for supporting me to take flight. You have a rare gift for bringing people together and holding sacred space. So happy I got to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh my gosh.
Keep
thank
being you.
Leslie. Yes. And that's for sure. Everyone gets to be them, especially Aquariuses, Leslie.
yes. So let's move into the transits. We have today, Monday, February 6th, Mercury sextile Neptune.
Hello, Siri. This is a third pass of Mercury. So ask any questions that you're curious about, right? And Siri, you can pick up your phone and you can ask the lady in the box as well, like any question that you that might be perplexing you. It's easy to get answers these days because of that. So you get to go on a magical mystery trail.
Cool.
Yeah. So ask, this is about technology. This is about,
Ooh, that could be cool. Learning something new about technology, which we were just discussing before about the big book that you have about your astrology software, about maybe changing up your templates, but also jumping into a webinar about learning something like crypto or learning something about that piece of technology that you have that you could probably use in so many different realms.
and actually Tuesdays is good for the crypto research. But I want to say one thing about this Monday, the 6th, this Mercury making this sextile to Neptune is, I have started a very personal horary class. It's I don't know what we call that. Very personal. There's a very small group of us that are in this horary class, and it is asking a question and then composing a chart an astrology chart when
The question
when the astrologer is prepared to answer the question.
Okay.
So that's when the astrologer creates and casts the chart when the astrologer is ready to answer it. And that chart, which is like a transit chart, but it's,
The answer is within.
The answer is inside that chart. And it was one of the very first types of astrology before even natal astrology or transit astrology. Horary astrology was one of the very first ones that were deduced or deducted. So interesting that this Mercury making this sextile to Neptune is I'm diving into a 7-week, very intensive program.
Cool.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So
instead of saying hello Siri, maybe you're like, hello Sandy.
Yeah. Hello, Sandy. Maybe we can get you on an application for one of those ladies in the boxes. So let's move on to Tuesday, February 7th, Mercury out of shadow.
Yeah, finally, he's reached his 25-degree mark in Capricorn. Therefore, he's making new marks in the sand. He has been treading over the same marks, running back and forth over the one area of the sand since December 13th. And so here we are almost 2 months, right? December 13th, we went to January 13th.
Right.
Here we
Getting
are,
close
February
to February
7th.
13th.
Yeah, is like he has been
tested
in that same area in anyone's chart. So it's like if you feel like things aren't moving forward, even though the calendar days are clicking off, we already had to turn a page, right, into a new month. It's like, oh, now Mercury's out of shadow. Now we can walk on some new territory.
Perfect. Yay. So the same day, we also have a second transit, Venus sextile Uranus.
This is sensitive and objective. And, I like this. It's a sextile. So in other words, take the opportunity. And there's reception here. First of all, Venus in Pisces is exalted. She doesn't get any higher or she doesn't get any more respect than she does in this placement in the sky.
So she's happy. She's
happy and she's making a really nice aspect to Uranus in Taurus. So she rules Taurus. So she's responsible for the Uranus she's managing Uranus. Now that's pretty hard to do, to manage the game changer, right? But this really works great for relationships, or to reestablish current ones, where you can, Uranus wants to have that separation of I'm me, not you. I am me.
Right.
And you're you, not me. Right. But how do you,
come together,
but yet can be separated as wholes.
Right.
Right. So I really like this. It works great for any new friendships or any kind of love relationships or girlfriend relationships or boyfriend relationships.
Right. Yeah. And I like that you call this sensitive and objective, because I feel like if you're ever planning on having a discussion about relationship or kind of how, if it's something that needs to change or something that needs to be discussed, coming in with sensitivity and objectivity is like, I feel like that's the secret key. That's the secret recipe right there. Because when in whatever relationship, whether it's mother-daughter, if it's a love relationship, if it's even a business relationship, you do have to be sensitive, because here is another human being. I am communicating with another human being. And I also need to be objective with, what actions did I have responsibility over that I did hurt your feelings or whatever that was, and vice versa. You both have to come into it like that. So I really do like that reminder that when we do have those conversations, it needs to be sensitive and objective.
And it's just perfect for having that, like, what's your end result, right? Let's work toward that.
And about the you saying, having two holes. It's just reminding me of a friend's post who was doing kind of like New Year's resolutions, basically. And for one partner, they had their own or their one word. And then the other partner had their one word. But then they created and, worked together to find out what the one word was for the relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And so I like that, where, you still have your own identities and what you're striving for, but you also have so much, focus in on what you're creating together, and that's its own entity in itself.
Right.
So great. Okay, so let's move on.
I really like that. That's a really good. So, have you done that in your relationship?
Not yet,
but maybe on this day, Tuesday the 7th.
But what was really fun that I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast before, but I saw I guess I saw another post. Here we go. This is all from my social media scrolling. And it was about a couple who every year they would purchase X amount of champagne bottles. And either as a couple or individually, they would write with a silver Sharpie what the goal was, what one of their goals were. And only then could they open up that bottle of wine or champagne. Yeah. And so we did do that.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many bottles did you buy? 6.
So we have 2 each and 2 for the relationship.
Oh.
And so we're taking it kind of slow. We didn't want to write them all on one day.
Yeah.
So we're just like, oh, you know what? That could be a really cool goal for me. I want to get to 80 sessions, 80 yoga classes. And once I reach that 80,
clunk, 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 clunk,
then I get
clunk.
to toast
Yeah.
and say, look, I did it. So I really like that idea.
I love that
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Well, and I did have a friend at one point that would always bring a bottle of champagne over, and made the comment do you have champagne flutes? And I don't think at the time I did. And it was very important to always have clean, ready to go champagne flutes for a toast because it's special, right?
Right.
So I did. I ran up to the Crystal Cave here in Wilmette and bought 2 beautifully twisted gold and clear.
I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are really pretty.
Champagne flutes. Now, there's no champagne. But I'm waiting for a friend to bring over a bottle. Right. Anyway, that I like that idea.
Yeah. So let's move on to Friday, February 10th, Mercury conjunct Pluto.
Yeah, this is probing. Mercury, the planet of interest, of expression, of intellect, of the mental frame, reading, writing, speaking. Mercury is responsible for all types of communication.
Right.
And it's conjunct Pluto. This happens, once a year, as long as and Mercury has not made that connection over Pluto 3 times. He won't this year. But it's about more research, please. A need to know. You need to know. It's not like I want to know, or it's not even about being curious, as we started at the beginning of the month or at the beginning of the week on Monday. But by Friday, it's like I need to probe inquiries and meaningful chats.
Right.
I need to get to the bottom of stuff. So that's interesting.
Well, and it's not necessarily curious probing. It is full on interrogation.
Right.
I must know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll expect that for Friday. Maybe we go out
and I don't mean, and unfortunately, Pluto can have that whole jealousy and manipulative, negative connotation. So if it requires some private eyeing or some
getting down to the
really hard questions, they're better off served as questions and not doing your own
accusations.
Yeah. Not being the manipulative. Just ask straight out.
Yeah.
Did what is the answer to this?
How?
Yeah.
So let's move on to Saturday, February 11th, Mercury ingress Aquarius at 5:22 a.m.
Yeah. First thing in the morning. And Mercury, for some astrologers, not the traditionals, but the modern astrologers, have Mercury exalted in the sign of Aquarius. That's where you have it.
Yeah.
Right? In your 10th house. So you're going to get a Mercury return in your 10th house.
Oh. Yeah.
Right?
This month.
This month.
Okay.
And, as I said, some say he's exalted here, which means a brilliant thinker. Take a bow. Yes, brilliant thinker.
There we go.
Where you're able to achieve a higher frequency of messages, right? So to discuss any topics that maybe came up on Friday the 10th, right? That you're discussing those, you're trying to see these in more enlightenment, right? Like, okay, this is the shadow, because, Pluto's about shadow, right? The dark,
Right.
The shadow. That Mercury is meeting up with Pluto on Friday, and then Saturday, boom, goes into Aquarius going, okay, let's get on the other side of this. Let's see
move
the
forward
light.
and
Let's
use
see the
this-
light and see
yeah.
how things can, how can we brilliantly work things through or not?
Yeah.
Or
And
not.
emerge from the dirt. So, okay, that's the week. That's the week ahead, everybody. Any final messages about this week?
All planets are direct.
Okay.
We have all planets direct until middle of April. We'll already be arriving back home from Bali.
Wow, it's coming up so soon.
It's fast. You turn the corner in January and, we head to Mexico and then boom, we get home. There is not much of a rest.
Right.
And then, I'm already planning the Bali, like look at the
itinerary.
Look at the
I
board.
see it.
There's the
I see
itinerary.
it. It's packed. It's going to be fun.
Which there are still some slots.
Right. So let's move into talisman times, and then we can discuss a little bit about Bali on the horizon. So talisman times, you have some free time. There's not a lot of talismans coming
Nope.
up, none so far, but we do have our talisman of the month, which is on the website. It is to acquire respect and love. And this talisman is on special for $222, and you also get a now $6 shipping credit because shipping prices have gone up. So we now cover up to $6 of your shipping, which if you're using regular shipping, it totally works.
It's covered.
So, of course, click the link in the show notes if you want to check out that beautiful talisman bracelet that Sandy created. So on the horizon, let's move ahead where we just finished last month the year ahead forecast. This is for the entirety of 2023. If you haven't watched this video, this is going to be my last reminder for you. So Sandy and Susan come together once a month where they discuss what's going on astrologically, why you care, and break things down for you. If you want to continue these monthly forecasts, we are changing our platform into Patreon. If you haven't been to Patreon yet, it's basically a community platform where you get to see all of the media. The media that we share on this platform is the monthly cheat sheets. It's the monthly forecasts. Sandy and Susan, depending on what tier you do, you can also get readings quarterly or monthly with Sandy and Susan, all included. It's fabulous. So come over to Patreon. I can actually give you a 7-day free trial for the Big Dipper. So click that link in the description and you're going to want to start with the Big Dipper. I'm pretty sure.
Right. There is a Little Dipper.
There is a Little Dipper.
But there's way more. And
you get to ask Sandy and Susan during the monthly forecasts personal questions. Mm-hmm. That is so cool. We carve out about 15 minutes after the monthly forecasts where you get to say, hey, somebody last month was asking, hey, what about I'm supposed to be going on to this new special diet where it's gluten-free and it's dairy-free and it's all these things. I'm a little bit nervous. Tell me a little bit more of how this is going to work. And we had someone else asking about their solar return. And a solar return is the same degree that the sun comes back to your chart. So it's somewhere right around your birthday, but it might not fall directly on your birthday.
It's either the day before, the day of, or the day after.
But you do solar return readings all the time,
Right.
and you're sharing a little bit of what is this year upcoming for you? How is it going to feel? What can you expect?
And we have your birth information, so we just put your chart up, and Susan and I look at it kind of like what we do, or what I did at Wonderlust. You know, the Wonderlust festivals, doing my readings there,
Right.
kind of on the spot.
Right.
A lot of information can be gathered in that time period.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and that's you know, when you get we take 2 people every month, and if you get your question in early, you can be in every month and get a question answered.
So yes, we'd love for you to move over with us to the patreon.com platform. If you do have any questions, of course, email me, alex@intentionbeads.com. Let's quick discuss our upcoming 2 retreats. We have April 1st is going to be the beginning of the Bali retreat. We are 2 months away. This is still time for you to book a flight, for you to, and really that's all the arrangements that you have to do aside from pack. We have an entire 11-day retreat completely planned where we dive into the local culture of Bali. We go to beautiful sacred spots around the island for us to participate in the ceremonies, be there and be explained and guided through everything.
Do you see what's on the schedule for Easter Sunday? Because we'll be in Bali for Easter this year.
We're going to the Prince's Palace,
Yes.
which is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I feel like it's every Instagrammer's dream, but luckily there aren't that many Instagrammers there. They have these beautiful koi ponds that you have stepping stones and you can walk along and you feed the koi fish. They have these natural everything is a natural
and we
hot
went
spring.
Swimming.
And you go swimming and
it was so...
And then there's these like cool dragon sculptures that are spitting out the like hot water. It's fabulous. And it's
I thought that was really important to do something on Sunday for special
and it's
Easter.
right by Mount Agung, which is like the volcano.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And that's why it's all hot springs. So yes, we do all of those cultural adventures, but then you also get to learn about your astrology. You get to learn some basics of astrology, but more importantly, the application of what this whole philosophy is about.
And the 2 new planets that are moving massive is Saturn. Saturn moves into a new sign every 2.5 to 3 years. He's moving into Pisces. And then Pluto in March is moving into the next sign of Aquarius for about 3 months. So we need to learn a little bit about where this is in your chart.
So it's going to be
making a talisman.
Right. It's going to be conversations about boundary setting. It's going to be conversations about how can I be more determined and focused and responsible for myself and my actions and what it is that I want to harvest when it is time. I must nurture
dreaming.
it right now. Yeah.
It's about going with the flow of what your dreams and magical wishes
It's
are
going to
and
be
how to
so
get
cool.
there. Yeah.
So we would love for you to join us. There is still time. Don't talk yourself out of it just because we're 2 months away. This is totally possible, and we would love to have you there.
What do they need to do if they're thinking about it?
Well, I say first, get your free 15-minute call with Sandy.
Okay.
I think that's a great first option. If there's not anything too soon, email me and I can probably sneak you in a little bit sooner for that free 15 minutes. And also if you are more serious about it, go ahead and put in a deposit for the Bali retreat, because that will 100% set you
Hold your room.
Right. It'll hold your room. It'll hold your seat.
And that's $500 deposit.
Also in September, we have plenty more time for this one. This is the Amargos Greece retreat.
Although we say plenty of time, I just got 2 people this week.
Right. So we are getting more and more limited within the space, but I mean, I'm talking about like booking flights and
I haven't
like
even
preparing
haven't
yourself
even done mine.
for an international, trip.
But Agialis Resort and Retreat Spa has only had a certain amount of rooms for me, and I booked this in May of last year,
and we are almost booked out.
And so this is all the rooms I can get, and they're almost full. But so if you're really thinking about Greece, Margos Island, Greece, it's a remote island where very few tourists go, except we'll be there. And so once we get to the island, we stay put, right? We stay put. We'll go on there's 1,500 inhabitants on the island, and there's one road. We will get on the shuttle in a sightseeing tour bus and drive. One day we'll drive to the monastery. We'll swim where they film Deep Blue.
That'll be cool.
We'll go into Choya and have a little shopping spree and see the Dutch windmills and how they literally worked until 1983. 1983.
Wow.
Not like 1793.
Yeah, like almost 40 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I don't consider myself a foodie, but every single retreat that we go on, I get so excited to go and eat those foods. One, because they're completely prepared for us. And two, because it's delicious and it really gets you're ingesting the culture at the same time. So for me, it definitely makes me feel a part of the land and the space that we're in. So I have not been to Greece. I am so excited to be eating Grecian food on a Grecian island with...
And we see the gardens. We can look out our windows and see the gardens. Boom, right there.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so if you are interested in joining us for a retreat and you still have a few questions, don't forget, sign up for your 15-minute reading and ask whatever questions you need and see if the retreat is right for you. So in the show notes, you will see the link for you to sign up for that.
Oh, and also, will you have the link for the Bali page that you just finished?
Yes.
We're a little slow on some
Yes. I have a brand new info page all about Bali. Gives you a little bit of an idea of what
idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
A ton of information about what are we going to be teaching, what is the itinerary like, where are we going, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And just our thoughts and opinions on Bali, the staff, the people, the culture, the traditions, and you'll be able to see some pictures from our past retreats there too.
And some of those same people
are headed back.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think you can ever get enough of Bali.
You can't. We've gone every single year and we still can't get enough.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm going to spend the 30 days. And once they have a nomad visa, that application is prepared. They're working on it now, I guess. I'll have my 5-year nomad visa. So
Perfect.
Funny, I had a Vedic astrology reading by a client who's a Vedic astrologer 2 weeks ago. And he's looking at this going, there's something about you being a nomad. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was thinking I want to do.
I'm applying for the visa.
I'm applying for a nomad visa. In addition, I think I want to rent my, furnished home out for a year or two so I can be on the road traveling. And he's like, oh my God. And I said, I'm glad you see that in my chart. Because it's hard for your own astrology to be shown like that. And so he's like, I don't know, there's like nomad kind of energy here, which is something you don't really want to tell a client sometimes. Like, you don't know where you are, you're wandering,
right.
Nomad. I'm like, no, but that's what I was planning on doing.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Going to see all my friends around the world and staying with them.
Yes. Okay, so let's move into our house where we always like to talk about what's been going on, talking about different topics, and bringing on some really interesting, cool, special guests. So today, without further ado, we are bringing on Anna from Hawaii. Let's listen in. All right, so let's move into our house where we have another special guest. We
Hey,
have
Anna.
Anna, and she
Hawaii.
came to the Mexico retreat. We actually first met her in Bali when she came to the retreat years ago. So thank you so much for coming in, Anna.
Aloha, welcome. Hi, ladies.
Hi, Anna. Again.
I'm happy to be on this podcast this morning. I've never been on a podcast, so
Ooh,
yeah.
That's actually shocking. For
I
me.
know. You've been on the cover of magazines.
Yeah, nobody's ever. I mean, I've been on like TV and radio shows, but I've never done a podcast. So thanks for being my first.
Oh.
So tell us a little bit more about you.
I'm a tattooer. I am known well in my profession. I own tattoo shops, but now I'm moving to a different phase of my life. And that means that Hawaii will just be my home base while I find the rest of the world that also I need to see. And I really love going on the retreats. So
you're signed up for all of them for 2023.
Yes.
We just completed the first one. So I want to talk about that.
Yeah, I it was funny when I went to this retreat, like the first retreat in Bali, I felt like was all about me. I was at a turning point in my life. It was almost like Bali was the first turning point where I had to make a decision, but then Mexico last year was the closing of the door of that decision.
Wow.
So I went to this one, honestly, not to say that I told Sandy this at the beginning, I thought that I was going to this retreat not for myself, because I felt like I was at a point where I had learned last year the importance of following my gut. It was confirmed with everything that was happening astrologically, like, holy shit, I could not have literally been anywhere else on the planet on the days. Like I had a Venus natal return last year, literally all of this stuff lined up. So as it turns out, I went to this one and I was most definitely not there for anybody else. It turned out I was absolutely there for myself. And a lot of the things that I had been holding on all year, decisions I knew I needed to make, and going to this Mexico retreat only like seriously confirmed that I was making all of the right decisions. And then I found out with Mars, like, at this retreat, there's a bunch of shit that I need to cut out of my life. And there's a lot of boundaries that I need to set that were being stepped on. And so with this, it kind of held up a mirror to what that behavior is doing to me and how it's not helpful, So in many regards, this was a very beautiful retreat. I enjoyed it so much because of the people that I went with, the people that I met, the people that were there to support me. But there was also some very, very trying things that happened. Sometimes shit needs to blow up in order to put things back together.
Totally Mars. That is totally
Mars.
Not even just, yes, it's Mars, but it was Mars stationing. He had nowhere to express himself until he started moving again, right? Because it was Mars retrograde, station correct. And so anybody that needed to say anything got a chance to say things, right? And sometimes they were just a little, and then we get to respond. And that's what universe gives us, each individual permission to respond to no or yes. What it taught everyone is in their own, what will one stand for, right? Mm-hmm. And I've heard so many beautiful comments after the retreat from people going, I just got a text today from one of the ladies that is just like, oh my gosh, I am now using my voice with more personal power behind it. Mm-hmm. So to watch that and to say what we will understand and what we will allow and what we will not allow.
Mars energy was the theme for Mexico 2023. And in finding a great support group, you know, of fellow women around you to
Yeah.
be your witness, but also to hold you and kind of nurture you in that way is like so special.
Dude, and in my life,
Mars
yeah.
is asking us to take a new direction, to be a maverick in a new direction after it goes direct, which is which gives us that impetus to do something different.
Mhm. And in my life as well, because I work with my life is consumed with people I work with. So I have to keep a lot of shit private, and I don't get an opportunity to just be really raw and open. And that's one of the things I love about the retreats, is because, first of all the women that go are boss ass bitches, you know, like they're all strong women in their own right. I love the age grouping that usually comes. I love that people do so many different things, but yet they have this commonality somehow that everybody can speak to each other on this level. So it's like, I don't think in hindsight I would be walking away today with I don't think I'd be walking away as strong today had not everything happened that happened there. You know,
So talk a little bit about Bali that's coming up in 2 months for anyone that is.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know.
So
we're going to be teaching, you know, we're going to be watching Saturn moving into Pisces and Pluto moving into Aquarius.
Which will be a really wonderful kind of transition, because Saturn and Mars kind of have
more lessons. God dang it.
Well, so it's going to be like, there is going to be dissolving of boundaries and previous traditional boundaries, but in Pisces, it's also going to be about like, what spiritual boundaries are we going to then put in those places instead, and routines, how are we going to create different, you know, connections for ourselves and others. How can we do those types of things? So that's going to be the theme. I'm really excited for this because I'm exploding with ideas. So
I don't know, but
because Bali, right? So it's going to be another magical tour.
So talk a little bit about like, what is Bali like for you?
Bali for me is just straight magic, period magic. Yeah. So when I went the very first time, I had never been on an astrology retreat. I didn't know anything about anything. For me, Bali was foundational. It really helped me kind of understand like a baseline concept of how everything works in relation to one another. It was magical in a sense that I, as a Sagittarius and somebody, you know, I'm fortunate that I get to travel around the world doing my job. And so I've been a lot of places. And one of the things that I love is going to different cultural activities. Like I love going to different temples. I love participating in ceremonies. So many different things that we got to do, you know. Like I still have that video of you, Alex, skipping across the stones in front of that water temple. You know,
that's the prince's palace.
Yeah, the prince's gardens.
Yeah. So you know, for me, Bali was just magical because I got to see and do so many things, but also that is the first place that I know without a doubt I manifested something. And it wasn't for me. I'm actually at one of my best friend's houses right now, Jen, who got me interested in astrology, that ended up leading me there. And while I was there, I manifested, I made an intention bead with some leftover clay that Sandy had. She let us make a bead for someone else. And so I made a bead for Jen that she found a heart of gold that mirrored her own. I made her a mala out of that bead. When I came back to Hawaii, I ended up not even realizing it. 8 months later, I set her up with this fella and they ended up getting married and they have a little baby, Ruby. And
Oh my gosh.
and she's an and Ruby's a Sagittarius. And so,
Oh my God.
and so I always tease Jen and Mark, and I'm like, you had my child.
Oh my
And so-
gosh, I love that. Yeah.
So, but that's the very first time I ever remember like making a solid intention with a talisman for someone else. And then to have that come true all that time and know that that's where it came from is amazing. So this last time when I went back, sat underneath the temple and I gave thanks for it, that had manifested. So there it is. And so it is. And so it is.
Wow.
And so every time I go there is magical. And I totally intended on going to Bali and having one type of experience, but as soon as I stepped foot in Ubud, I wasn't there 12 hours and magic started happening.
That is so
Yeah.
right. You nailed it on the head. Bali equals magic for Anna. So thank you everybody for listening. Anna, thank you so much for coming in and sharing all of these wonderful stories. And so everybody, thank you again for listening to this episode. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The story of you, the story